This is the research process that I go through before I launch any product or make any of my ads. First, I want to understand the problem and then the product. But this is mostly for understanding the problem and the avatar, which is going to help you write the bulk of your VSL. So this is what gives us the ammunition to create different angles, right? We don't want to just go after the general problem, although sometimes we do, but oftentimes we want to go after specific pieces of the market. And it gives us the best chance of a successful campaign. The more in-depth your research is, the more relevant it is, the better off you'll be. So the first thing we want to do is we want to understand the problem that the product is solving. So we start with a simple Google search and we look at the top 2 to 3 articles that are explaining the problem. Ideally medical articles, but in layman's terms, in simple words. And we take notes on anything that stands out. So I have a research document where I write out how do they describe the problem, the pain, the alternative solutions, the common remedies that people use, and what the problem feels like for the person who's suffering from it. Then we go to AI, and I use Perplexity AI. It's one of my favorites. They give tons of studies and research for every question you ask. So I ask it simple questions like what's the real or hidden or overlooked or little known root cause of this problem? And it's going to provide us with articles and studies that you can go and glance through. You can read the abstract, and if there's something interesting there, then you go and you dive in and you read that article, you take notes on it. All of this is going to help us find a unique problem mechanism and an explanation of that root cause, which is what makes the first 50 to 70% of our VSL work, is where we're explaining how the problem actually works before we offer them the solution to solve it. We also want to make sure that this is simple and easy to visualize. This is why I like to do multiple different AI prompts, multiple Google searches. And when something stands out to me based on all of the VSLs I've reviewed and written and studied, then I know that I have something good there. So usually you want to have 2 to 3 options for how you can describe the problem mechanism and then run it by someone else and say, does this really make sense? Because for us, as if you're writing the copy yourself, it can make sense to you and not really make sense to someone from the outside perspective. So for example, back pain isn't caused by bad posture. This would be in your lead or your hook. You take it a step deeper and you say that bad posture actually compresses the discs in your spine, which pinch the nerves between the vertebrae and compress your spine. So the true root cause is lumbar compression, not what we've been told, not what the mainstream advice is. It's actually something deeper. And when you understand it, you can solve it. Then when you get a deep understanding of the problem, the mechanism, the mechanics of the problem in the anatomy and the body, this is for health products, then I do avatar research. So I want to know how the target avatar, how do they experience the problem? What does it feel like in their body? And the more clear we are at relating this back to them in their own language, the more relatable it is to them and the more they trust and believe what we're saying. We also want to know everything about this. So you really want to, ideally you can go and interview someone who has this problem. So either someone in your life, or you can, offer a cash reward to your email list or on Backstage or on whatever, creator website, and talk to someone who has the problem. What does it feel like? How does it affect their daily life? What other solutions or remedies have they tried? What frustrates them about the problem? There's usually a long list of these, and some of them, you'll start to recognize patterns. Another thing that I like to do is to go on forums, Reddit, Amazon reviews, and just general discussion forums where you search by keyword. So knee pain, plantar fasciitis, tendonitis, whatever it is. And you note down the long stories, because these people will describe the entire journey. And oftentimes you'll notice the patterns of how are they describing the problem. Is it burning pain, shooting pain, numbness? What is it? What activities does it inhibit? Walking up the stairs, folding laundry. Again, the more you can relate to them and make it seem like you understand them, then the more likely they are to believe you and to trust you and to listen to what you're saying. I also note down the ways people describe the problem. As I mentioned, this is like the most important part. The keywords and phrases that they use, we want to mirror these in our VSL, in our copy. And then after completing all of these, I review my notes and I start formulating different angles and ideas. By the time you finish this research process, you should have a pretty good understanding of the problem, what's really causing it, what it feels like for people, and how they're dealing with it and why they're unsatisfied with the other solutions. And then from there, you come up with your angles, right? So this can be big angles, like what do you want to tackle in the actual VSL? Do you want to do knee pain, or do you want to do a specific type of, osteoarthritis? Do you want to do menopause knee pain? You can pick certain angles that you feel are going to do better. And you'll also have your main copy elements start to take shape. The big problem, the big promise, the alternative solutions, the problem mechanism, the solution mechanism, the testimonial. These things are going to start coming together through your research process, and it's going to make writing much, much easier. So I review all of this, and then I sit down and I write the VSL when it's all fresh in my mind. And then you take a day off, and then the next day, you don't take a day off, but you take a day off from that VSL, and then next day you go back to it with a fresh set of eyes and you review it, have someone else on your team who understands marketing, have them review it as well. And ideally, you have someone who suffers from the problem, someone who is the target avatar, also read the VSL. And they'll point out to you what's good, what's bad, what doesn't make sense, what's not relatable. And this is the phase that sets you up either for success or failure. When I see people just swiping what the competitors are doing, oftentimes it leaves you missing out on a true understanding of the avatar and the product. So one, it's hard to replicate any type of success you get. And two, because these funnels are pretty comprehensive that we do with the VSL, advertorial, sales page, checkout, upsells, just swiping one part of the funnel is not enough to be profitable because there's so many variables, right? The offer, the pricing, your upsell structure, all of it needs to be dialed in. And the way to do that is to truly understand the market and the problem, have proven systems and structures for your funnel and your VSL, and then put it all together. And this will give you the best possible chance of a successful test. And then again, this is an important point. One article or study could contain a single powerful mechanism or phrase that turns a VSL into a winner. Oftentimes there are many VSLs I've seen where I change one sentence in the lead, one phrase, one description of the mechanism, and it skyrockets the performance because, a bad explanation or a bad sentence or a bad phrase it's not neutral. It takes attention away because then suddenly people will say, oh, this guy doesn't really understand what it's like. This person doesn't understand, the true feelings of what it is to suffer with this. And that can be on a subconscious level, but regardless, that's going to lead to viewer drop off. So it's oftentimes all about big ideas. And these are almost always uncovered in the research phase and then brought to life in your VSL. In a future video, I'll go over how I do the product research, talking to the suppliers, looking at competitors' products, looking at the Amazon reviews, and finding out how the product works, what's good about it. But this is the 80-20 of understanding your market, the problem, how they do everything. And here's just a quick example. On these forums and I do the research on the problem and the avatar, here are a couple things I'm looking for. One, I have a section where I just note down ideas that come to me. This could be causes of the problem. It could be angles I want to take in my VSL. It could be certain phrases. I also note down all the stories, the long form stories that people will submit to these forums. And this is where they'll give detailed information, such as the pain is very pronounced in the morning when getting up and going. The base of my toe is sensitive. This involves a lot of walking. So this is the type of avatar that's often talking about this problem. You'll notice a pattern. In this case, it was a lot of nurses and medical and healthcare workers. Then I note down the nightmare stories. This is where people will describe the problem, describe living with this problem and how it affects their life negatively. Keeps me awake at night to the point of sobbing. So this is like very powerful stuff that people are sharing openly about how they deal with this and how they experience the problem in their daily life. And this can often help us, relate to them a lot more and show that we understand their situation. Then the alternative solutions. This is another big one. What other things have people tried? Stretching exercises. The physical therapist dismissed my symptoms. He tried a stem cell injection. It failed. He sent for this. No relief. So alternatives, why they're not working, and then key phrases, any key patterns that I'm noticing, words or phrases that they're repeating, swelling, painful, my feet have become swollen, I can't move my toes. These very intense and real and relatable, just straight from the mouth of the target avatar, these are very powerful. And then the causes of pain. Oftentimes people have a general idea of what's causing their pain, tight calves, injuries on the bones, hypertension or whatever it is, Achilles tendonitis. So people will describe what they believe is the root cause or what they've been told is the root cause. So this is just a quick example of, the type of documents that you want to fill out during the research process. This is for the forums. And then I'll also have one for the scientific side of it. So the studies, where I'm reading through the abstracts of the studies and I'm, writing down things that stand out to me, which can be the conclusions of a study about what's causing the problem or what the solution could be, or anything that stands out to me that I feel could be powerful in the VSL. I have another document for that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a quick one just about research because I've had a lot of questions about this. How do you go about researching the problem and the product to really understand it? Because that's a key part of writing a good VSL. Oftentimes people don't go into the research very in depth, and that leads to very shallow VSLs where they're just taking a very broad angle without any type of powerful phrases, without any type of great mechanisms or relatability to the target avatar. So the research process is very important, and this can get you started doing this good research. Hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day. Peace.